Welcome to a special edition of the Kayak Bass Connection podcast, the official podcast of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club Bass Tournament Trail. So I'm your host, Jared. We are here tonight to kick off the third season of the podcast, but more importantly, we're here to kick off the official 2025 schedule for the Southern Illinois Kayak Bass Club Tournament Trail. Let's talk some bass fishing. So tonight we have tournament director Josh Lincoln with us. He's been working diligently to get that schedule together and what we're all going to be doing in 2025. So this is going to be our first glimpse of what Josh has been up to. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We had a beautiful day here in Missouri. It was almost 50 degrees today. It kind of made me itching to get back on the water, and I know those days will be here sooner than later. Just getting excited.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're recording this right before Christmas. It won't be released until after the first of the year. But we're kind of in that time of period that you're just starving to get back out in the water. It's going to be a little bit until we get to do it. So that's awesome.
I always try and go fish on my birthday. My birthday is December 10th, and
nice.
Even if it's just going to a local pond or anything, I'm always try and get out there and usually catch it's usually a jerkbait fish on my birthday. I'm always jealous of those guys that have like summer birthdays and can go fishing in the warm months of the year on their birthday.
That's a great tradition. Fish on your birthday, regardless of when it is.
Always. There's been years where I've had to fish through ice on my birthday, but I've gone regardless.
That's dedication. So it also takes a lot of dedication to do what you do. How many years have you been tournament director now?
Let's see. My first year that I started was 2020, so this will be 5 years.
Incredible. So we know a lot of work goes into that, and hopefully we can talk about that later. But hey, everybody's wanting to know, when are we going to kick the schedule off this year?
Right now, let's do it.
Let's go. So I'm looking at. I just saw the schedule just right before we came together to record this podcast. So first thing on the schedule is not a everybody's invited type of event, right? So we have the SIKC Classic coming up March 29th. March 29th.
It'll be here before we know it. I'm not going to release where that location's at.
Sure.
I got the permit pulled, but I'm just going to hold on to that information just a little bit longer. And then I'm going to make a really cool special post to all the anglers that have qualified for that tournament and let them know where we're at. But we do want to release the date. That way they can get request off for work or whatever they need to do, make sure they're there.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. March 29th, make sure that if you were one of the top finishers and can you refresh my memory, what was the rules last year that you talked about? You were going to invite.
It's a top 20 qualify, and then anybody that had an outright win gets an automatic bid in there. So if you only showed up to one event but you won, well, great, you're invited to the Classic.
Yeah. All right, so that gives you a pretty good idea whether you're going to be on that invite list or not. So take a look at last year's
right to the standings and figure out where you're at and go from there.
Are there any other ways to get into the SIKC Classic other than the win and being a top 20 finisher?
Yeah, there is another way. It is based on attendance. So if you fished 4 more events last year, you are in.
All right, awesome. Cool. So that broadens your field a lot. So
yeah, we definitely just want to continue to reward anglers that show up and help support us. They're the heart and soul of our club, and we want them to be a part of our special events.
Oh yes, absolutely. All right, so we're going to have a little more information later on about the Classic. So March 29th is going to be that date. So let's make sure you put that on your calendar. So let's just start off with the first event where somebody can earn points from that 2025 Angler of the Year award. And I see that we have an event on April 12th. April 12th. Where's that one going to be at, Josh?
This one is going to shock a lot of people because it is not the lake that we always start at. So since I've been running the club, every year we started at Newton, and that tradition ends this year.
Okay.
We are going to start our year where we ended our year last year. We're going to start right at Coffeen Lake, which I'm excited for. It's a great lake. When we fished it in the past, we fished it in the heat of summer. We fished it in the transitioning in the fall. But this will be our first time the club has ever truly hit there early spring. So I'm excited to see what that lake can produce. It produces great in the summer, it produces great in that fall transition. I'm really excited to see how well that lake produces here in early spring.
Yeah, nice. Caffeine's really surprised us with some really nice catches there. So it'll be interesting to see what some of our guys and gals can do in April.
Caffeine has just been, and you can look at the stats, and Dustin does a great job showing all of our club members. But I think Caffeine is probably one of the most consistent lakes that we've got that's for growing bass. So we can look at our tournament stats over the years, and like the average fish has gone from a 13 to a 14 to a 15 to where I think that last tournament we were averaging close to like 17-inch fish for a lot of like the keeper quality fish. So I'm excited to see what that lake will bring in the springtime. And then the other aspect of it is Caffeine is a really big grass lake. I know last year's tournament, they sprayed the grass and killed a lot of that grass, so we didn't have to deal with that. But early spring, with all that grass not developed yet, that's going to be another big kind of wrinkle and curveball, which I think our anglers will really enjoy to kind of not fish the same lake where everybody can go to the same spot that they've gone the past 5-6 tournaments. So it'll make people get outside the box. It'll make people pre-fish. I'm excited. It's going to be a great tournament.
Yeah, sure. It will be like a different lake without dealing with a lot of dead grass. It'll be early enough that the grass isn't going to be sprayed yet. May not even be emergent, some of it. So it'll be a completely different ball game. Awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. I've done well at Coffee, and I like that place. All right, now the next place we're going to talk about is a little different. May 3rd, you have us headed out to a lake we haven't fished a lot. Tell us more about Otter Lake.
Otter Lake is a lake that it's probably been the most requested lake for SIK to go to since I've joined the club, and we're going. I've heard all of the requests, and I made it happen this year. And it also happened to be that KBL is also going to Otter like the week prior. So anybody that wants to go and fish with them or fish as a non-member with them, I'm going to go pre-fish it essentially, but in a tournament thing. So it's just kind of like a really fun event where we can work together with our KBL friends and then have an event of our own with maybe some additional practice.
Oh, that's awesome. So I just brought up real quick the Otter Lake DNR stats, and it looks like it's a 765 acre lake, average depth nearly 20 feet. Wow. But here's when I scroll down the page. This is something interesting. So when they graded the largemouth bass population, according to DNR, it has a very good largemouth bass population. They're saying in their 2021 electrofishing survey, 113 bass per hour for electrofish, which is a very strong bass population. The size is good too. Most 62% over 12 inches, and 9% over 18, and 2% over 20 inches. That sounds like it's a great place to fish.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun event. SIK went up there, I believe it was 2019, the year before I took over the club was our only tournament up there, and looking forward to it. Now, that is a lake that does require like each kayaker to purchase a permit, but I'm going to work with the state and see if we can get like one pass that maybe like the club can pay and we can all get access, but there'll be more information to come out about that, just so everybody's aware.
That's awesome. And, we're going to be there in May. It looks like, there's half a dozen tournaments maybe before. I'm looking at their approvals of permits here. Looks like we've got half a dozen, 5 tournaments before we get there. So, and also I'd noticed there it is a musky lake. That always makes for an interesting day.
Makes you think twice before you're putting your hand in the water as you're motoring back to the ramp.
Yeah, it makes you just cry a little bit whenever you tie on that $15, $18 chatterbait and send it out there. You may not get it back.
Yeah, just say goodbye to those Evos you got for Christmas.
Yeah, awesome. That sounds exciting. Sounds like that was you responding to what a lot of anglers wanted to put on the schedule. So great.
Yeah, that's a challenge we face each year. It's we got to fish our tried and true lakes, but those kind of off the ball lakes that we jump from tournament to tournament, and I just try and listen to our members and see where they want to fish, and then what actually makes sense that can support 30, 40 kayaks all at the same time and has good fishing to boot. But that's the hard part about all this is you think, okay, hey, this is a great lake, everybody wants to go here, and then we could go there and it could be bad weather, high pressure, or whatever, and the fish just be shut down, and then it's oh, that lake sucks, we're never going back there, you know?
Yep. And you got that balancing act between, okay, is it big enough to put our competitors on, yet not so big that they're diving speedboats, and is it unsafe? And, if bad weather comes, there ain't a place for anybody to hide, any coves to get into, anything of that nature. And, last year you made a really good call at the last minute on changing the lake, right? Because of safety concerns.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of those deals where we just looked into it, and I went out the week before, and it was just a really unsafe lake where it was just one long strip where all these party boats were just up and down, up and down, up and down, and I didn't want to see anybody get hurt. But it worked out for a blessing. We went up to Banner Marsh and its place and had a great day up there.
Great. So, all right, so that'll be a little bit of an exciting unknown going to Otter Lake. You talked about our tried and true lake. So next up, in June 7th, we're headed back to Sancris.
Yeah, Sancris is always one of those big three, and everybody knows big three are Newton, Sancris, Cedar. You'll see them on our schedule every single year. So yeah, heading back to Sancris. Should be good. It might probably most likely post spawn. So it'll be interesting where we're going to find those fish. And then, Sancris, it all depends on what the wind is doing that day. We've been out to Sancris where it's barely been blowing, and more times than not, we've been out to Sancris where it's blowing 20 plus,
Yeah. I think every time I've been on that lake, it's been blowing like crazy. I didn't make that one last year, but I know that there was big expectations, if memory serves me, and really there was only a few people that did well.
Yeah, the lake was really shut down the last time we fished it. I think a limit puts you in the top 10. Because that was one of my poor tournaments where I was just like really disappointed in myself because early in the day I caught a big kicker fish, one of my bigger fish of the season, and I just couldn't round out my limit. And if I would have rounded it out, it probably would have been a top 5, top 10 for sure.
Yeah, dang. And you had a heck of a finish for the year as well, especially since you're planning
I had a bad finish this year.
All right, so Sancris Lake. Another thing, and I'll post the episode at the end of this one, but we also interviewed the biologist that was responsible for Sancris and some of our other lakes last year on this podcast, which that information is still going to be really relevant. So go back and take a look at that in the previous edition that we'll link below here.
Yeah, and one good thing about the Sancris tournament is we kind of rotate launches too. And this year we're back at that northeast launch, which I think is the best launch for a kayak tournament, especially because it puts you right at the start of all three arms. So if you want to go straight down that center arm, you're right there. If you want to go around to the dam and down that west arm, you're right there. If you want to go away from all the crowds and go down that east arm and have the lake to yourself, you're right there.
Yeah, that's a nice launch, and they just updated. If I remember right, that's an updated ramp. They had a ramp that was pretty rough. They put a newer one in.
I think that was that smaller single one on the. I think it was on the right side of the ramp that they redid.
Yeah, beautiful campground there too.
Yeah.
So, oh man, the next one is if there's one lake that I think that people in our tournament trail look forward to the most, it's going to be the next one. So, what are we going to be doing July 19th?
We are going to be at our favorite lake in the entire state. We will be at Cedar Lake.
Cedar, home of the mythical century belts. Crossroad Championship win. It is an awesome lake that is just loved by. I don't know anybody that just says I don't like fishing cedar.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on Cedar right now because the past 3 times we've been to Cedar, 2 of them have been the worst weather days I've ever fished in. One was blowing, it had to be 35 plus miles an hour, and the other one it rained all day long, and not just a light rain, it downpoured. In both of those days, somebody broke the century belt. It was Darren and Susie.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I want a good weather day or I want another bad weather day and watch somebody, hopefully me, break a century belt, in a single day.
You can't do it if the fish aren't there. So the fish are in that lake.
The fish are 100% in that lake. And that's another one of those lakes is when it's on, but when it's off, it's off. I think we've had several tournaments where, once again, cracking a limit got you in the top 15, top 10, But then we've had tournaments like last year where I think 80 inches was out of the top 10,
Wow.
But it's a fun lake. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
It is. And you know what? If you went there every time and caught 90 inches, it wouldn't be so sporting, but definitely you don't know what you're going to get at Cedar.
Yeah. Now that I will say, as we're on the podcast, that's the only one that's not officially locked in. And as we'll get into kind of like talking about the tournaments later, that's the one I do have to call in after the first of the year and talk with the city directly and get that permit approved. So that's kind of like a placeholder. That's where we want. And there hasn't been too many years in the past where we haven't gotten the exact date we wanted. But that's the only one that could change. That's not 100% locked in.
Okay. Yeah, that water is like partly owned by the city and partly managed by the state, right? I mean,
yeah, it's a little bit of both. So we got to go through the city of Carbondale to get our permits.
Okay, that makes sense. Now you really got me with this next one. We got the 19th. Hopefully, you're going to be at Cedar Lake.
Yep.
And then you've been doing this the last several years. There's just when you think you figured out what the schedule is, some quirk gets thrown in there, some mysterious event. So what do you have up your sleeve this year?
I can't say a whole lot now.
I thought I'd get that out of you.
But I will say that me and somebody else and you, Jared, are going to sit down and have a podcast together about it, releasing all the fun details. What I will say about it is, 1, make sure you get the day off because you're not going to want to miss this. And then 2, make sure you show up to all 4 tournaments prior to this because it will be an anglers that qualify for this. So not everybody's going to get the invite.
Nice.
So it'll be after our 4th AOY tournament. So the top however many will be invited based on their AOY standings after 4 events.
Oh, nice. Sort of like a mid to late year kind of miniature championship. Get like your top performers together. And so now, just so we're clear, we're talking about July 26th. So if you're looking to put in for time off or whatnot, July 26th.
Yep.
Is the secret event. That's what it's labeled at, which I don't like that. Secret event. There's no clue as to what that's all about.
No, it will be released shortly. We just wanted to create some anticipation for it, but also let everybody know that it's going to be the date, and then it's going to be in our home general vicinity driving distance. It's not going to be anything crazy. It's not going to be something up in Michigan or Wisconsin or Indiana or anything like that. It's going to be in our general vicinity. Okay.
Now, you mentioned something a while ago. I want to clarify. You talked about our 4 AOY tournaments. So that is Coffeen Lake on April 12th. That is Otter Lake on May 3rd. That is Sankerous Lake on June 7th. And Cedar, maybe, we hope, on July 19th.
Yep.
So those 100% count towards your tournament into your standing, correct?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So it's our AOY standings for the end of the year are your 4 best out of your 6. So if you fish all 6 events, but you had a bad showing at Coffeen or Otter, those could potentially fall off.
Okay,
or
I
if you
got
weren't
you.
able to attend one of those. But
Yeah.
yes, those 4 will definitely count towards that secret event.
Okay. Awesome. And so then we're going to go from this super secret event to Pyramid State Park. Now, what made you choose this?
So it was another one kind of like Otter. It's probably been my most requested tournament location.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just going to be a really fun kind of back to our grassroots of kayak fishing type tournament. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to be open to the pretty much the whole park. And I'll release more details on that. But the general rule is if the lake is listed on the IDNR website, it's going to be open to fish.
Okay.
So we're going to be a little bit more spread out. But I will say it's also a tournament that if you really want to win one of these things, you could do your homework and you could go out here and you could really find a lake that's off the beaten path. And so it's a tournament that anybody can win. That they may just have to put in a little bit of extra legwork into getting it, or maybe it's a lake that doesn't have a boat ramp or something like that. Hard to get into that they're willing to take the time. Or it's also the wonderful ability of, hey, I put in on Lake B, but I've had a crappy morning so far. I've only caught 1 fish. All right, well, great. I'm going to throw the kayak in the truck and I'm going to go over to Lake C or D or E, So there's endless options, which will be fun.
Yeah, and I want to see if I can't do a quick screen share here, but it's interesting that I brought up the DNR website, and usually when you're used to doing that, you see the obvious choices. There's the one lake basically that you get to choose from, but not on this one. On this one, let me bring this up real quick. There is a entire list.
Yeah.
Entire list of lakes here. Look at this. So we've got all these little bodies of water. Is that so? If it's listed here, is it going to be open?
Yeah. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah. So somebody could spend a lot of time doing some scouting here.
I don't even think that's all of them.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I think the main ones that people are going to go to, I think we'll see a lot of attendance at Super Lake, which is the biggest one on there, which they also have been stocking smallmouth in there at record numbers. I think you'll have to double check me on this, but I believe they put over 30,000 smallmouth in there over the past 3 years. And they've been growing from like pictures and stuff that I've seen of anglers catching them. But that'll be a lake that draws a lot of attention. I think Goldeneye will probably catch a lot of attention. I know back in the past, back in like 2015, 2016, the Murray State team practiced on Goldeneye for a week straight. And they caught, what was it, 5 fish over 10 pounds out of that lake.
Oh my gosh.
So it grows absolute monsters. If you go in there, I'm sure the guys with live scope could go in there and see the shad that are just like 12, 14 inch long shad that are just massive. And those fish are just eating on there.
Wow. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great lakes out there. Now there's a lot of.
Now I've never been. I think I've been to Pyramid. I think I've just driven through it, so I've never took a look at the lakes. Are there ramps there, or is this going to be an old-fashioned kayak launcher, kayak off the side of the road? Or
almost all of the lakes that are listed on the IDNR that we'll have access to, they all have some kind of ramp.
Okay.
They may not all be a concrete like boat ramp, but there's a couple that I fish that are like a gravel ramp, but still something that you can easily back your truck up to or back your trailer in. Yeah. There's a couple of them that are tough to get into. There was one that Dalton sent me to one day, and I'm surprised I got my kayak out of there.
Oh wow! But that eliminates probably the big boats from getting in there, right? So you got
100%, and that's the beauty of that whole park is if we get a bad day where it's really blowing hard from the east, well, great. There's 10 lakes out there that have protected banks from the east or whatever,
Okay.
so.
Nice. That's exciting. All right. So that is going to be on August 9th at Pyramid State Park, August 9th. So we've kind of inverted the schedule. So the lake that we usually start on, we're going to finish on this year, right?
That's right. We're gonna wrap the season up at Newton, which we've done the very first year that I took over the club. We did Newton twice. We started and ended on it, and it'll be really exciting because it's a completely different pattern than most of our anglers are used to. Because a lot of our club members, the only time they fish Newton is that first tournament of the year up in the early spring. So it'll be a completely different lake for most of our anglers, and it should be a great time. I know I love fishing Newton in the fall or fall transition. Usually a white swim jig along any shoreline just gets destroyed, and it's fun fishing because there's so many 18-inch fish at Newton. It's just
incredible fishery. That's going to be on September 13th. Oh, it's always a busy place. I'm sure it'll be really busy then too. Nice. What a great lineup, man. So how long did it take you to kind of put this schedule together as a tournament director? Is this something you started thinking of last year or just when?
I guess it usually goes after the last tournament of the year and after Crossroad ends. I usually give myself maybe like a week or two, just like relax, be like, okay, take a deep breath. Because by the time you get to that part of the season, it's very taxing being a tournament director, and you just kind of like take that step back and relax, and then like 2 weeks later, you got to be instant back into it mode because on October 31st, Halloween, everybody else gets to enjoy it, but I've got to apply for our permits that night and go from there. But yeah, picking the schedule is never an easy task because you try to balance that. Like, I want to make everybody happy, which I know is impossible at this point. And then you also want to keep things fresh. So you gotta pick new lakes, which you don't always know if they're going to work out. And then you got to kind of change up the lakes that we typically go to, because it's no fun if we go to Newton at the same time every year and angler A has this one spot that's just killer, and they just go to that same spot. I want everybody to battle it out and go to different lakes at different times. Now, eventually we'll run out of times to go to some of these lakes and we'll have to repeat ourselves. But until then, we'll keep it fresh.
I don't know. You've done a pretty good job interjecting some new areas here in the schedule, and yet making sure that we're hitting some of the, I'd just say, old reliables. You got Newton and Sancris, Cedar Lake. Those are ones that just produce year after year. Caffeine is now becoming kind of one of those. So yeah, this is an exciting schedule we have out in front of us. So let's say somebody's listening to the podcast, or like, you know what, I haven't fished with you guys before. These sound like some pretty neat lakes we're going to go to. What is it if a person has not been a member of the club before? What do they have to do to show up at Coffeen Lake on April 12th?
Well, the very first thing they'll have to do is they'll have to buy a membership. And let me double check my calendar here. Those will go on sale January 11th of 2025. And they'll just go, any angler that wants to be a member with us, will just go to our website, SIKCfishing.com. And then you can click in there and become a member. But those will go on sale right at Friday night at midnight. As soon as we click over to the 11th, or they'll be on sale, and they'll go fast. They always do.
How many memberships do you expect to be available?
We've been working on it. It's a balancing act of like not selling too many and then not selling not enough, because we want full tournaments, and we just understand with people's schedules, we're not professionals that it's common to miss one or two, or some people show up and say, hey, this isn't for me, and then don't attend. So I think we're going to have 65 memberships available. Just knowing that we're not going to always have 100% turnout, and just looking to have really, I think we've kind of hit our sweet spot where we're at kind of like the mid 40s, high 30s. And it's a really great tournament day for everybody.
Oh yeah, and now we've talked about this several times on this podcast. Just look at some older episodes. But if you've got your membership and you want to try fishing these tournaments, first thing I'll tell you is just reach out to anybody that's been on the podcast. Reach out to me. Reach out to anybody that is in the club. It's a very 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 welcoming club. They're serious fishermen, yet they're friendly. They help each other out a lot actually on the water. So if you're if the unknown factor is what keeps you from fishing and joining SIK, don't let it do that. Reach out and find a couple friends. It's really easy in this club. I haven't really met anybody yet that just didn't want to help the other people that are fishing.
Yeah, I'm sure the listeners are probably tired of me hearing this say on repeat, but our club is unlike anything else. It's so friendly. It's friendly first, fishing second, and there's not a member in here that wouldn't help an angler out, and it's not cliquey in the slightest. It's you can show up brand new, first tournament ever, show up to the boat ramp and go up and say hi to anybody out there, and they're all going to be like, "Hey, what's going on? What kind of boat you in?" And just start that way. Or even if you're in your first tournament with us and you're at Coffeen and you're halfway through the day and haven't put a fish on the board, you could come up to any one of us and say, "Hey man, I don't know you, but I'm having a terrible day. What are you catching them on?" And I would say 99 out of 100, if not all 100, would say, "Yeah, I'm catching them on a bluegill colored chatterbait, throwing shallow against wood." Or they're going to say, "Hey, I'm catching them on a Texas rig green pumpkin worm." And I would bet a lot of our anglers would even give them some of the baits that are really,
I've had that happen. I've had
I'm
people give
catching
me
them on
baits.
this worm here. Take a few. So I just continue to brag about that because I haven't found that anywhere else in fishing. Usually fishing is so competitive and so like, what are you catching them on? And you get like a bait, it's just like very, very hushed, very close, which is fine. I love competitiveness, but the fact that we've got competitive and friends all at the same time, it's just something truly special. And
it's a great mix.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you want to be part of that, just join us. We'd love to have you.
Now, we went through our list of tournaments, and we call it the Southern Illinois Kayak Club, but kind of geographically, what if you had to look at a map and somebody was curious as to, hey, what areas do you guys cover? How would you describe what you're going to be covering this year?
I mean, depending on the year, some years we go a little bit further north. I would, if we had to rename, it would be like South Central Illinois Kayak Club. We won't really touch the northern half of Illinois, but a lot of like the Newton, St. Chris, Banner Marsh area, that's all central Illinois, and that's definitely in our wingspan. So if you are up in that Springfield or Peoria or something like that, don't be thrown off by the title of the club. We come up that way. Probably about half of our events are more central Illinois, and then half of our events are usually southern Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, really, St. Chris just south of Springfield. Newton is not really far south. And then, of course, like you said, we've done some things at Banner Marsh in the previous years, and that's nearly around Peoria. So it's a really big area.
Yeah, each year I kind of look at our territory that we fish. Southern Illinois to me is south of I-64, and central is north. Yeah. And I usually it doesn't always work out, but I usually try to do, of our 6 tournaments, do 3 and 3. So like this year we got 3 north of 64 with Newton, St. Chris, and Coffeen, and we got 3 south with Cedar. Oh, I guess we have 4 north of 64. So we're more central this year than we are southern.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Interesting. So maybe I won't have to drive 4 hours to all of them this year.
Yeah,
that's
nice. We've got a lot of anglers that drive from northern Illinois or central Illinois to our events, and we've actually picked up a lot of anglers from Missouri that are driving to our events now.
Yes, we have quite a few from Missouri.
A lot of times, the most common thing I hear from our Missouri anglers is that our lakes are closer to them than getting to the big Missouri lakes. And the other one that I get from the Missouri anglers that have fished some of the other Missouri clubs is that our lakes are safer to fish because they're
really?
not. They're, well, think about all the Missouri lakes are big,
Huge.
gigantic
Yep.
lakes. It's
Makes
Table
sense.
Rock, it's Stockton, it's Mark Twain.
Yeah.
They're big, giant lakes with big, giant boats on there. Where most
Mm-hmm.
of the lakes we fish have a 25 horsepower limit on there. So there's still boats that we compete with, but we're not dealing with the big pleasure cruiser boats, that are just
Sure.
sending out giant wakes.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I've noticed that there are some events it's like 30-40% of the field. If you look on their Tourney X profiles, they're actually live across the state line. So that's awesome. So, what about any changes in tournament rules this year? I know that we traditionally follow KBF rules, right?
yep,
Okay.
and that'll be the standard. We stick with the KBF rule standard, and if they make some changes, we'll follow suit. But really, we're blessed by KBF. They provide our insurance for us each year, so
Okay.
we kind of run with what they want to go with, just as a thank you for providing us and letting us get together. Because without them, we really couldn't do it.
Yeah. So anybody wants to look at those rules, they can go to Kayak Bass Fishing website, the national organization, and they have a really good explanation there.
Yep,
Um,
and they can also get to it via our website. If you we have a whole rules tab, and it's a direct link over to their
okay.
page.
And along those rules, talking about rules, so you also do tournament. I call them briefings, but they're captains meetings, right? Right before
Yeah.
a day or four, or a couple days before the tournament. So tell us how you're going to be doing that this year.
So last year we kind of tried out the digital captains meeting where I'd
Mm-hmm.
go in and I'd film a video very similar to this and just kind of get it out to the anglers. Usually I try to get it out that Thursday before the tournament, so that way if somebody was going down there early, they could get good self reception and watch it,
Yeah.
and then and really it just kind of frees up people in the morning. That way they got to do is they got to focus on getting their boat in the water, getting in like their staging area, and then just coming and finding me and getting their wristband and checking in. Well, it's easier on me too, because it's one less
Yeah.
thing I got to worry about in the morning of the tournament. I don't have
Oh
to
yeah.
gather up
Yeah.
40 individuals and all get together and have one meeting.
Okay. So you're
So
going to continue to do those digital recordings for the meetings, and how do you send those out?
So they'll all get emailed to
Okay.
each individual angler, usually that Thursday night. And it's literally just a link to my Google Drive, and then you can watch it on your time. And typically, I do some other little things. I put like the KBF rule standard, or I put like a timeline or lake map and boundaries, all that. That way, it's all there for you, and you can even if you're out on the water and you say, oh hey, I forgot the lines in time or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you could pull that video up and watch it while you're on the water,
Yeah.
or pull up the lake boundary while you're out on the water and make sure, okay, no, I'm in the right area.
Okay. Great. Uh, so what about cost entry fees? Is there a standard entry fee for every one of these tournaments in addition to your membership?
Yeah, I'd have to double check
Okay.
it.
I know you
I,
last year was what was it, $60?
I don't
Is that a little
believe
high?
so.
Maybe.
I
That's all right. I
believe
was just
it's
curious.
54. I'd have to double check.
Okay, that's all right. So it's in
Uh,
$50-$60 range. It's certainly
yeah,
not
$50,
two hundred fifty
$60 range.
dollars. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
it changes each year a little bit because Tourney X charges us a little bit more, and then
okay.
this year I'll have to double check it because I believe Tourney X changed their way they're billing it, because it used to bill out
Mhm.
like the day after the tournament. Tourney X would always bill me however many anglers they are times our fee, and then I'd
Oh.
have to pay that directly. And now I believe this year I'll have to double check, but they're attaching that fee to the angler when they sign up. So,
Oh. Okay.
for example, if the tournament that I was having people sign up and pay $54.50 to enter, with $4.50 of that going to Tourney X, this year it may be okay. It's only going to be $50 on my end that it shows the tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you go through and process the pay, it'll be like a Tourney X fee that the angler pays individually.
Okay. Okay.
I
Well,
think that
make things a little easier on you, maybe.
a little bit, one less
Yeah.
thing to worry about. I think
Yeah.
Dwayne Wally with Tourney X was struggling with getting clubs to pay right
Yeah.
after an event on a timely manner. So it's just one way for him to kind of manage that a little bit easier.
So you mentioned TourneyX, so that is the phone app. And again, I'm kind of talking like someone that has never taken a place, never participated in one of our tournaments. TourneyX is an app that you can download from your phone that you do all your measuring and uploading your fish from. So there's tons of videos on YouTube and the website on how to use that app. So if you're going to be participating in this tournament series, we are catch photo release. So make sure you know how to do that before the tournament.
Yeah,
something
definitely.
you don't want to try to. It's enough. It can be tricky enough, even when you know what you're doing. So you definitely want to practice it before you.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even anglers that know 100% what they're doing, you get one feisty fish and everything goes out the window, you know?
Oh yeah. Now the payout structure for everyone's it's based upon the anglers, right? So the more anglers we have show up,
The more money we pay
the
out.
more
Yep.
you're going to pay out. Okay, so awesome.
Yep.
And I know that many times it's not just if you show up and maybe you don't place. Usually, I think it's usually top 3, maybe 4 that get paid. You're not necessarily going to go home empty-handed because you've got a big bass pot that you can always join. And you guys doing a great job of doing just general giveaways after the tournament, just for anglers that are there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I've had a bad day fishing and went home with a nice rod that I won, and basically a door prize raffle. So that's really nice, I think.
Yeah, and starting last year, and it'll roll into this year because I thought it worked great. We just added the big bass into the fee, so there's no worried about, oh, did I sign up for it? Did
That's
I not?
good.
Everybody is signed up for big bass. If you catch the big bass of the day, you're going to walk away with that big bass money. And big shout out to Brian from Heads Up Taxidermy, who's a big sponsor of the big bass, and
Okay.
we'll do one more replica for us this year. So
Nice.
But yeah, back to like the everybody getting something. That's a big format for me. I would much rather have 30 smaller prizes, whether it's a chatterbait or a pack of worms, and we'll still do some big prizes. But I always want to make sure that absolutely everybody walks away with something. If they stayed for the tournament, they stayed for the results, that they walk away with something. Because I've been there. I've had awful tournaments where I caught one fish, or I caught 3 fish and they all flopped off the board. But getting that chatterbait, or getting that whatever, that pair of pliers, it just kind of made it worth it. It's like, okay,
it's something,
yeah, something
And
I
I
can
tell you, another huge bonus for that, stick around, because really that's a lot of times that's the one time you get to talk to the other anglers that are there. You might run into some of them on the water, but or waiting for results to get tabulated. That's when you kind of meet some of the people you're fishing against, and to me, that's one of the highlights of the tournament. I think just the people.
Yeah, I mean that fellowship hour is huge. Not only can you talk fishing and can you talk about the day, which sometimes is frustrating if you had a bad day and you talk to, oh yeah, I was killing them throwing in the same exact bait you were throwing. It's just like sometimes like,
That's a
okay,
gut punch.
that's a little hard to hear, but those times are when bonds are just really strengthened and made, and you could make some really lifelong friends. I know I have, just being with the club for the past 5 years, as I've been, the bonds that I've made are unbelievable, to where I could call any of these guys up in a moment. They would all say, yeah, how can I help?
Yeah, I mean, you've done a phenomenal job of building a community around a tournament, a bass fishing tournament trail, and that's one of the things that's so special, I think, about the Southern Illinois Kayak Club tournament trails, that how friendly everybody is, how much you communicate your expectations to the anglers. Is we expect you guys to follow the rules. We're fair when we judge the fish. But we also go and have a good time and have good fellowship. And so I think you just your personality sets off that expectation, and everybody trusts you. That's a big deal.
And hats off to Ryan McCann and Kavika, who ran the club the first 2 years of its existence. But
Absolutely.
they kind of set that standard, and I've only kept it going. And
nice.
So yeah, big shout out to them.
Yeah. So, man, you got a great tournament trail that you've laid out for our anglers. And I hope we can sell out all those 60 or 65 memberships. They're going to go on live online January 11th uh, at 12:01 a.m. I presume.
12:01 a.m. There will
So,
be people buying them.
yeah.
Happens every year. It's one of those stressful days, just kind of like applying for the permits. I'm up
Yeah.
super late working on my computer and just making sure and hoping everything works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there'll be some stumbling blocks, and that's just that you can't. That stuff just happens.
Yeah.
So you've done a great job of lining things up so far, and you've got a lot of good people helping you, as I know. So if you fished the tournament trail last year, you know, watch your emails and see if you get invited to the March 29th event at Lake Unannounced yet.
Yeah.
From your performance last year. And people can start making some plans. All right, you've done a great job of getting us ready for the 2025 season, Josh. The schedule looks amazing. That's really exciting. So we're going to actually drop this. Initially, I thought we were going to drop this till like the 1st of January. But you and I were just talking. I think we're going to try to move that up a little bit.
Yeah.
So if someone sees this podcast, listens to the podcast, sees the schedule and says, that's something I want to get involved with, the next step would be January 11th. Waiting to buy that membership or as quick as they can get the membership. And what's the website again?
It's SIKCfishing.com.
Okay. And if someone to have any questions about the tournament trail, how would they reach you or someone else?
So the best way to reach me is either send me an email directly, and it's super easy. It's SIKCfishing@gmail.com. Okay. Or if you just go to our Facebook main page, and you can message me through there and just hit message, and I'm always the one responding back. So if you have any questions just generally about the club, or I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to talk anything kayak fishing related. And if you're just kind of very new into this and you don't really know what's going on as a rookie and you want to get involved, we have a whole dedicated podcast just to that as well.
Yeah, we do. We there's a great, this is their 24th episode that we recorded, the Kayak Bass Connection podcast. And there was so much good information. I would suggest if anybody is interested in joining our club or in participating in this tournament trail, and it'd be really worth your while to go back and listen to a lot of our old episodes. So there are tons of good information there. So Josh, thank you again for all the work you've done. You've really made a schedule that I think everybody's going to be excited about. Some of the old, some new. It's going to be a great year. So thank you for all you do, sir.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to doing this a few more times before we get back out on the water.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about to go back real quick and see if I qualified for the SIKC Classic. That's what I'm gonna be doing real quick. I think I did. So, all right. Thanks everybody for watching tonight, and we will be back soon with another episode.